Welcome to a very special episode of the Broadway.com show, your go-to guide to the most wonderful time of the year, Tony season. I'm Paul Wontorek.
And I'm Beth Stevens. We are looking at this year's Tony nominees, from seasoned stage greats to talented newcomers and more.
And later, we share our predictions on who will take home trophies on Broadway's biggest night. The 72nd Annual Tony Awards will take place at Radio City Music Hall on June 10th and be broadcast live on CBS.
And don't forget this year's hosting duo, Sarah Bareilles and Josh Groban. Let's kick things off with the race for the most coveted award of them all, Best Musical.
Best Musical is arguably the biggest prize on Tony night. A win in the category not only cements a musical's place in theater history, but it usually boosts ticket sales and increases the show's future life on Broadway and beyond. Plus, it looks incredible on a marquee. The 4 nominated musicals this year exhibit great diversity. Let's take a look. Leading the race for Best Musical are 2 shows which have each earned a stunning 12 nominations, Mean Girls and SpongeBob SquarePants. First up, everyone's favorite Under the Sea Friend.
Give me adventure, I'm a contender and more. I will show I'm not just the sponge next door.
Turning SpongeBob SquarePants, the popular Nickelodeon 11-minute cartoon series, into a full Broadway musical was an enormous task for its creative team. Producers first hired visionary director Tina Landau, who wanted to create a show that would appeal to both die-hard fans as well as newcomers to Bikini Bottom, the cartoon's outrageously named sea setting. Writer Kyle Jarrow thought the best way in was to write a universal story about SpongeBob and his friends having to come together to deal with a crisis.
I pitched them this idea, like, what if it's the end of the world? And that's what it's about. It's like Armageddon meets Our Town meets SpongeBob.
The story, which centers around an about-to-blow volcano, not only gives the musical its structure, but provides a clever parallel to the problems of the real world for audiences to grasp onto.
It's about the need for us all to overcome our fear and come together and live joyfully in the best day ever, which is each day we have.
If you want to, you can look at the script and go, oh, it's saying things about the world and how communities are reacting with each other.
The show's score is by an amazing list of pop and rock stars who contributed songs, receiving a shared Tony nomination for Best Original Score. Also nominated is star Ethan Slater, making his debut as the title Sponge.
So come on, hero is our middle name.
For Slater, a die-hard fan of the Nickelodeon series, the show's message is king.
Something really cool that my fiance said to me the other day was, she said, it's really special that you get to save the world every night, because this is a world that often feels like it needs saving for different reasons. And it's a really special thing, not just for me, but also to be able to share with this company and with this audience, is saving the world through this message of love and community, 8 shows a week.
Did you ever get a feeling that a whole new world is waiting to bring happiness and friends to the brave girl who explores?
Mean Girls is the Broadway musical comedy that seems custom-made for the film's fans. In fact, die-hard devotees of Tina Fey's hilarious 2004 film, in which Lindsay Lohan played a new arrival navigating high school social cliques, have long demanded a Broadway adaptation. Finally, Fey made dreams come true with this season's stage show, which she never considered starring in herself, by the way.
I'm not a great singer, guys, but I'm a worse dancer. So this has been a dream to write for Broadway, for sure.
For the musical, Fey collaborated with her husband, composer Jeff Richmond, and lyricist Nell Benjamin. For a director-choreographer, they enlisted musical hitmaker Casey Nicholaw, who was delighted to learn the 14-year-old movie still had bite and could appeal to a wider audience than only film fans that know Fey's funniest lines by heart.
It feels good. It feels like it's really relevant right now without feeling like, oh, we're going to update everything and change everything. I think it stays truthful to the movie and has the spirit of the movie, but it's stage-worthy now.
On Broadway, Mean Girls ends on a positive high, teaching high school kids some good takeaways about acceptance.
I love how we kind of hit that message home a little bit harder with the musical, to just not apologize for who you are, who you want to be, and not everybody gets along, but we all have to treat each other with dignity, because one's dignity is non-negotiable. I don't care who you are.
Friday evening, oh my chérie, in black and white and blurry through tears.
After winning multiple Best Musical prizes during its off-Broadway run, The Band's Visit has been honored with a total of 11 Tony nominations, including Best Musical. The show's quiet story about members of an Egyptian police orchestra who find themselves stranded in a small Israeli town was first seen in a 2007 film that inspired four-time Tony-nominated composer David Yazbek.
I saw the movie and I was left so deeply moved by the film. And I couldn't figure exactly out why, and I love movies like that, when you're just like, what just happened? But it haunted me, and I just kept thinking, if we can reach that emotional place, we will have done something that people don't do in musicals.
The show has a really gentle tone. The film does, the score does, the world of these characters really does. The story as created has a very gentle, quiet quality to it.
Every day you stare to the west, to the south, you can see.
It's such an unlikely kind of Broadway show. It sort of hinges a lot on silences and looks and what's going on internally. But the characters, even though there's many of them, we see them in short vignettes, we feel invested in them.
People feel instantly like they can relate to these characters, and that instantly they're taken to a place that they're completely unfamiliar with.
For librettist Itamar Moses, making his Broadway debut with the musical, The Band's Visit is simply a testament to the power of human connection.
The show is a great reminder of the wonderful things that can happen if we say yes to something rather than no, or if we welcome people rather than shut them out. In a way, strangers are the clearest mirror in which we can see ourselves. And when we shut out the stranger, we're actually shutting out what we don't want to know about ourselves.
Let it go, I am one with
The fourth musical in the race is Frozen, earning 3 nominations in total, including nods for composers Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, and librettist Jennifer Lee, who all first collaborated on the 2014 movie, the highest-grossing animated film of all time. Lopez, an EGOT icon who previously won Tonys for his work on the Broadway musical smashes Avenue Q and The Book of Mormon, was hooked on the story of sisters Elsa and Anna when he first got offered the film project.
They called me in Disney Animation and pitched me this story, and they showed me these images of 2 young girls, sisters, and the older one was doing all this magic and the little one was just in awe. I just thought, Kristen's gonna love this and we have to do it together.
Jennifer Lee, the co-director and writer of the film, is Tony-nominated for adapting her screenplay into the book of the musical. And after winning an Oscar for the musical's standout power solo, Let It Go, the Married Songwriters expanded their Frozen score from 7 songs to 23.
We worked very, very hard to take the story that we knew resonated with people and make it theatrical and use music to tell that theatrical story.
We love to dive into the DNA of the movie songs and use it to make new songs, and I mean, that was one of the most fun parts for me.
Love is an open door. Love is an open.
Which of this season's nominees will join other still-running Best Musical Tony winners, The Phantom of the Opera, The Lion King, The Book of Mormon, Kinky Boots, Hamilton, and Dear Evan Hansen? Tune in on Tony Sunday to find out.
When we return, we look at stage legends, newcomers, and more.
It's Broadway's most nominated new musical, with 12 Tony nominations, including Best Actor, Best Director, Best Choreography, Best Score, and Best Musical of the Year. SpongeBob SquarePants, the Broadway musical. Get your tickets now.
Hi, I'm Andrew Garfield. You are watching the Broadway.com show.
Some actors dabble on the stage and then take off for Hollywood, never to return. Then there are the titans of the theater, like Tony winners Mark Rylance, Laurie Metcalf, Norbert Leo Butz, LaShawns, Tony Shalhoub, Jesse Mueller, and more, who come back again and again to challenge themselves, winning accolades and, yes, Tony Awards along the way. 3 Tall Women star Glenda Jackson, for example, is 5 for 5. The 2-time Oscar winner is making her 5th appearance on The Great White Way and enjoying her 5th Tony nomination. Denzel Washington is an A-list movie star who could easily rest on his laurels, but instead is taking on one of the most challenging roles in the American theater, the Iceman Cometh Hickey, who delivers a 27-minute searing monologue that is simply unforgettable. Meanwhile, Angels in America marks stage stalwart Nathan Lane's 22nd Broadway show. Here's a look at some of the 2018 Tony nominees who are giants of Broadway. With his quick wit and impeccable timing, Nathan Lane is the Broadway musical comedy king. But lately, he has chosen to go in the opposite direction with more serious parts, including his current role as the vicious Roy Cohn in Angels in America. What got Lane thinking about taking his career in a different direction?
During the Addams Family, Charles Isherwood wrote this piece about me, a really lovely piece in the Times. You know, and he referred to me as the last of the great entertainers. And I was flattered by it, but I was also like, that sort of stuck with me. Like, I've been doing this for 43 years. I'm an actor, and I'm more than just that.
Right.
And I had reached a point where I said, is this all, my Peggy Lee, is that all there is? I feel I have more to offer.
Condola Rashad has racked up 4 Tony nominations in 6 years. Now the young star of TV's Billions is back playing the title part in Shaw's St. Joan, a role that has attracted powerful actresses such as Uta Hagen, Joan Plowright, Lynn Redgrave, Diana Sands, and more over the years. Rashad explains the appeal.
She didn't need permission to have a connection to herself. And as artists, that's what we want, is this connection to ourselves that we can express, and to not have to have permission from anybody to have that connection. That's a timeless story. It will never not be an appropriate time to tell a story of St. Joan.
Carousel marks Joshua Henry's 3rd Tony nomination, and he's the first actor in the 73-year history of the Rodgers and Hammerstein classic to be nominated for playing the central role of Billy Bigelow. Listen in as Henry talks about the magnitude of the part.
I love playing characters that, their arc is tremendous and they have incredible songs, and Soliloquy being one of the
best songs, one of the biggest and longest. God, having a great time every night with this cast.
The significance of being the first actor of color to play the role on Broadway is not lost on Henry.
I'm very honored.
Yeah.
I'm super grateful to have been chosen to do this role at this time. And it's huge. It's huge. It's a huge moment for me and for Broadway and for actors of color.
Tony winner Diana Rigg has garnered her 4th nomination for playing Mrs. Higgins in My Fair Lady. Dame Diana is adamant that actors must work on the stage and reveals how her thinking goes all the way back to when she hit it big as Emma Peel in the popular 1960s TV series The Avengers.
First thing I did, having established myself as an actress on the screen in The Avengers, was to go back to the Royal Shakespeare Company and put bums on seats and make money. And time and again, established actors and actresses, certainly in England, go back to the theatre.
There's a British invasion on Broadway. Okay, we know we say that every year, but with a plethora of Tony nominations heaped on London transfers like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, The Children, Farinelli and the King, and the revivals of Travesties and Angels in America, it feels like this year the British invasion is more real than ever.
Master playwright Tom Stoppard is thrilled his work keeps getting produced. He explains why it's gratifying to have his 1974 play Travesties revived in London before moving to Broadway and netting 4 Tony nominations.
We like to get out and about with our work, so that was a big thing for me.
It's just a brilliant man, so as an actor it's a huge privilege to perform his work. If he asks you to, then that's a great honour.
Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is a runaway hit both in its original home in the West End and now at Broadway's Lyric Theatre. Noma Dumezweni, who garnered a Tony nomination for her role as Hermione, explains why she loves that 7 of the original London cast members came with the show to Broadway and why being on the Great White Way is exhilarating.
I'm loving this adventure that the British 7 have come over to open this show on
Right.
Broadway with this amazing American company who are doing amazing English accent. Must stress that, because it is a British play and a British story, as we know, and that's one of the joys of it, and their work is phenomenal. The reactions of people to see the show has been, London was great. London was great. This is a different level because you all applaud at everything.
Right.
And it's a joyous thing because it does feel like, when the magic tricks happen, when the entrances happen, in London it's like, yeah, okay, brilliant, we're going to start and see a play, and then you get taken over. But here you're going, right, come on, you're supposed to be good. And then we start and you go, okay, you are good.
Tony Kushner's epic 2-parter was a sold-out hit at London's National Theatre before it transferred to the Great White Way. The NYC set play returns to Broadway in this new production 25 years after its debut, and cast members say it's back where it belongs, with audiences who know and love this groundbreaking masterpiece, which has broken a record with its 11 Tony nominations.
It's your play, and we are extremely privileged to be doing it.
I've heard there are people in the audience who are talking along with the play, annoying their neighbours, and I love it. I'm just Yeah, because it's like a New Testament. It's like the gay New Testament.
Long before they become stage legends, Broadway's brightest are wide-eyed hopefuls with that first job and a dream. More than half of this year's 39 Tony-nominated performers are first-time nominees, and 10 of them made their Broadway debuts just this past season. Take a look at the game-changing newcomers who have brought audiences to tears and to their feet, truly making their presence known in the theater community this season. Ariel Stachel makes audiences swoon as smooth talker Halid in The Band's Visit. The only thing better than an acclaimed Broadway debut and a Tony nomination? Celebrating his identity and inspiring fans and aspiring performers to do the same.
My father is an immigrant from Israel, and his parents immigrated from Yemen to Israel, so I'm of Yemeni descent. 9/11 happened when I was in 5th grade, and I think that was the first time that I understood my identity as a Middle Eastern person, and it made it particularly difficult for me to be Middle Eastern. And I'm connecting with these kids on Instagram and Twitter all the time. I have a lot of kids saying, I'm Egyptian American, I'm Lebanese American, I'm Israeli, thank you for what you're doing. The fact that Broadway now has that visibility culturally, like beyond sort of New York, people's lives are changing. People are feeling represented, and it's something that I never had as a kid. So that for me is, to be honest, more exciting than anything else.
Before Children of a Lesser God Tony nominee Lauren Ridloff was cast in the touching revival, she was hired to tutor director Kenny Leon in American Sign Language.
You know, that was a spiritual intervention, you know, with me working with Lauren as my ASL teacher. And I was like, wow, I kept being exposed to how great she was and how much presence she had.
With no professional acting background, Ridloff explained what drew her to take on Mark Medoff's work.
There are a lot of tough issues that are touched on in the play. Part of the acting process, and then learning another language, and then learning another culture, and that leads to exploration and chemistry.
Co-star Joshua Jackson raved about her theatrical presence.
Having never worked with a deaf actor before, one of the things that I've learned when we got into the rehearsal process, after a couple of days, I was like, something's discomfiting about this, and I realized it's because, she never ever leaves my eyes. It's something that you're always trying to search for when you're an actor, particularly on stage, like just find the two eyes. But she's always there with me. There's like this rope tied between the two of us when we're on stage together, and that bond is a joy to experience every night.
19-year-old Haley Kilgore is belting her face off and breaking hearts at the Circle in the Square Theater in Once on This Island as T. Moon. The young talent revealed how it feels to go from Broadway hopeful to Tony-nominated star in less than a year.
Really, my story really is like one of those fairy tale movies that you see on TV. Just be T. Moon and share her light. There were so many young women who went into that room and who I know could tell her story so beautifully. And so the fact that it was me, this girl from Oregon that no one's heard of, I knew that that was big, and I knew that that was going to be a life-changing thing.
Oh gods, hear my prayer. I'm here in the field with my feet on the ground and my fate in the air, waiting for life to begin.
When we return, we share our predictions for the 72nd Annual Tony Awards.
Travesties is the most celebrated comedy of the season. The New York Times calls it a ridiculously entertaining joyride with 4 Tony nominations, including Best Play Revival. It's possibly the only perfect production on Broadway. Travesties through June 17th only.
Tony Sunday is just days away, and it is time to make some predictions. I'm joined by editors Beth Stevens, Imogen Lloyd-Webber, and Ryan Lee Gilbert, and we are going to predict who might be walking home with some Tonys. It's a very difficult thing to do. So let's just start off by saying everything is always up in the air, but we kind of know what's going on. So let's go through some of the categories, shall we?
Yeah. Yes.
Best Play. I feel like there's a clear frontrunner this year.
Harry Potter, which won 9 Olivier Awards, so very strong contender. I mean, it raises the bar in terms of stagecraft and bringing so many new audiences to theatre. It's quite wonderful.
It's a huge hit, and it was acclaimed across the board. People love it. It's not going anywhere. And yeah, they do technical things in that show that we've never seen before.
Wizardry, one might say.
Exactly, magic.
It's also the only open show of the category.
I think it's a lock.
I think so.
We all feel that. We all feel that.
All right, good.
Let's jump over to revival. So revival of a play. I feel like Angels in America
I agree.
is the front runner here. It feels like such an epic production, and it feels like an event.
It's wonderful. Marion Elliott's production is fantastic. Came from the National Theatre in London, and it's been 25 years since it's been on Broadway.
But what about Three Tall Women?
It's brutally
gorgeous.
truthful, and it really takes you on a journey. So up there.
Right, yeah, no, and this is the first time that we've seen this, Edward Albee play on Broadway. You have Glenda Jackson giving an insane performance, which we'll talk about soon, but insanely good. Yeah, and Joe Mantello did something with it that is really fascinating and special.
Definitely a major competitor. Let's just jump right into that. Glenda Jackson, I think, is a lock for lead actress in a play.
Yeah.
Major performance.
The other three actresses are representing the only nominations of their plays, and yeah, at 82 years old, she's giving a towering performance.
And she was a politician for decades, so to suddenly then go back to acting and then dominate in such a way, it is extraordinary.
Every time she's been on Broadway, she's been nominated for a Tony. This is her 5th time. 5 Tony nominations. I think she's going to take it home this year.
Oh, she's never won before?
She's never won.
First time win. Congratulations, Glenda Jackson.
Absolutely.
Go build that shelf. Let's jump over to revivals of musicals. 3 musicals. We have Carousel, My Fair Lady, and Once on This Island. I think they all have their fans. It's actually a great race.
Agreed. Like, I know we're big fans of Once on This Island. That's the show that has the heart. Everyone goes to that show, they love it, they tell everyone to see it. It holds a special place, but it opened a while ago,
It's in a very intimate theatre, circling the square. It's very immersive. And then, of course, you contrast that with, say, an epic like My Fair Lady. A lovely production, shall we say. But it's huge. I think My Fair Lady edges out Carousel.
And My Fair Lady seems to be the show, seems to be sort of the safe bet here.
People know the score, and Eliza Doolittle is a wonderful character everyone knows, so I think it has a little bit of an edge here.
Let's talk about featured actor in a musical. The featured races are always kind of a crapshoot because it's hard to tell which direction they will go in. Beth, do you have a gut reaction here?
My gut for this one is Gavin Lee in SpongeBob SquarePants, but Ariel Stachel's giving a wonderful performance in The Band's Visit, got great reviews. I think this could be one of those categories where you just get a surprise. I mean, Norbert Leo Butz is also giving a wonderful performance.
2-time winner.
2-time winner, yes.
And I have to say, Gray Henson in Mean Girls. I sat there watching Mean Girls thinking, oh, this is a Tony nomination lock. And because this category is so wide open, that might be a little bit of a surprise there that night.
All right, so featured actresses in musicals. Lindsay Mendez for Carousel. Carrie Pippage is a great part. Audra McDonald won her first of many Tonys for that role. She seems to be who most people are talking about.
And she's very much a member of the Broadway community. And you do have some icons there, obviously Diana Rigg, Renee Fleming in Carousel. But Lindsay is just someone who has been around, who has grafted, has worked really hard, and I wouldn't be surprised if the community reward her for that.
Okay, featured actors in plays. Nathan Lane, the great Nathan Lane, is giving an epic performance. It could have been even considered a leading performance, perhaps, playing Roy Cohn. Is he the winner?
3rd Tony, is it, for Nathan Lane?
It would be the 3rd Tony. But then again, they can always give us a surprise, right? The Tonys like to give us some random thing that we didn't expect. So
Anthony Boyle won the Olivier, so definitely a possibility there. And he's slightly, no spoilers, keep the secrets, everybody. He does slightly steal that show.
Yeah, I was going to say, you walk out of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child talking about 2 things. The magic they did on stage and Anthony Boyle's performance.
I just want to give a shout out to David Morse, who is phenomenal. And a great actor of stage and screen. This is his first nomination and could just be the win.
Absolutely.
Okay, so talking about featured actress in a play.
Can I just say,
this is Denise Goff's to lose.
Sorry, there are so many Brits in this category, I'm a little bit embarrassed.
Yes, I know, super Brit.
It's basically just Laurie Metcalf as the
representing
American.
the Americans.
And I'm just at this,
Denise
sorry.
Goff is Irish, I just want to shout that out.
Just sorry, but continue.
Thank you.
Apologise for that.
No, I think you were Denise Goff.
I think Denise Goff plays Harper Pitt in Angels in America is giving a stunning performance.
Right.
I mean, this is a tough category also, so.
It is, because you have her co-star, Susan Brown, who is just doing so many things in that show and really does, the most with all of those little roles. But like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of love for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child as well. And
Noma Dumesney.
Absolutely, Hermione Granger. That's a ripe role.
We'll see. Leading actor in a musical, Ethan Slater, total newcomer. He was fantastic. He really carries the show.
True triple threat, right?
Absolutely.
He is moving all over that stage, doing all kinds of things.
And this role in this show has been his life for 6 years. And and finally he has this moment that he is shining on the Broadway stage. I think a Tony Award would be a nice cherry on the sundae that has been this for Ethan Slater.
I don't want to count out Joshua Henry for Carousel. He's playing Billy Bigelow. This is an iconic role. The first time a person of color has done this role on Broadway, and he gets to sing one of the most beloved songs in all of musical theater, and he's knocking it out of the park, so don't count him out.
Ethan has an element of surprise. I think Josh Henry, we've seen, this is his third nomination. He's a fantastic actor. We knew he could be a great Billy Bigelow. Ethan Slater just sort of has the element of surprise, which might push him over the edge a little bit. Best Book of a Musical. Let's talk about some of the writing awards for musicals. Tina Fey?
Yeah.
Tina Fey. Is this the chance to really give Mean Girls?
It's a way to honor the show.
Sure.
To honor her and her comedy and just translating that great movie to the stage and making it work.
It's a sharp script, but it's also moving. And I think that might surprise people when they go and they leave. There really is a message there.
And it also feels like Tina Fey is one of those people that you want to reach like an EGOT at some point. And so let's get her Tony in there.
And then Best Score. This also just seems like a lock for David Yazbek.
I think so. I took Dad, Andrew Lloyd Webber, everyone, to see Band's Visit. It was sort of third preview, so that was a bit unfair. Dad sat there enraptured. I heard bravos coming out of his mouth. That never happens, everybody. And then he led the standing ovation.
Wow.
What David Yazbek is doing musically is on another level, and I'm afraid I think it would be a disgrace if he didn't win Best Score. Sorry, just laying it out there.
We never hear music like this on Broadway.
No.
This is Middle Eastern music for the most part, and yet it works as musical theater as well, and it's funny and it's touching.
And David Yazbek needs a Tony.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He deserves it.
Yes. Director of a play.
Oh.
Who's the front runner here, Ryan?
I mean, as we've been saying, Marianne Elliott, she's won 2 Tony Awards already. She has once again done something incredible with Angels in America. I think it's hers to lose, but she has some contenders.
I disagree. John Tiffany raised the bar in terms.
Absolutely.
What he has done is unbelievable.
I don't disagree that Marianne Elliott deserves her accolades, but I think John Tiffany might nab it just because of the design elements that he pulled together and the magic of the show and just the whole world of Harry Potter from the minute you walk in the theater. That's all.
And he helped write it as well. Like, he has lots of ownership over there.
His DNA is in that show.
Absolutely.
Marianne has lots of Tonys.
Now, for musical directors, it's a very creative batch here. I think Tina Landau, what she did with SpongeBob SquarePants, wildly imaginative. But then you also have what Michael Arden did, Wilderness Island. Bart Scher is sort of a favorite every year. David Cromer, I mean, for Band's Visit, this is tough.
Impossible.
It really
I
is.
can't even begin to tell you.
I feel like it's between Tina Landau and David Cromer. I think honoring Tina Landau and SpongeBob, because I'm going to give you a little spoiler. I don't think SpongeBob's going to win Best Musical, and this could be a way to honor that show. But I also think what David Cromer did with Band's Visit is really special.
Right. And like we were saying with John Tiffany, Tina Landau's DNA is in SpongeBob as well. She helped conceive this whole thing. You know, she didn't just show up and direct it. It's partly her creation. And I think she has a great shot. But David Cromer, you know, did something really special.
It's a strong category.
Really strong.
So for choreography, I don't feel like there's a clear front runner. I mean, Justin Peck might have the edge because Carousel is so ballet heavy and it's definitely a real dance show.
Well, I mean, yes, and also that New York City Ballet link that he has.
Right.
In saying that, just to shout out here that we have Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. A play is in the best choreography category. And that really speaks to how exquisite and groundbreaking Harry Potter is, I think.
But Christopher Gattelli pulled out 2 nominations, you know, 2 shows.
Does that split the vote, do you think?
Yes.
I think that's something that can happen, yeah, absolutely. But great work in both.
Okay, leading actress in a musical. This is another tough one. I think I'm going with Katrina Lenk for The Band's Visit. It feels like it's been a performance of the year that came out in the fall, and I feel like she's really sort of the heart of the show.
I mean, there are 6 names in this category, so it's a big old category. They're obviously having an argument about this at the nomination committee. But Katrina is just sublime.
No, it definitely feels like Katrina Lenk's been the it girl of this Broadway season, but Lauren Ambrose seems to have impressed everybody that sees that show.
Because we've never seen her in a musical.
Exactly.
Leading actor in a play.
It's something called Tony bait. They talk about Oscar bait, Tony bait. That would be Andrew Garfield in Angels in America.
Yes.
Locke, no?
I think
it's a stunning performance. It's a stunning performance. It's a demanding show. and he's really giving his all.
Okay, finally, Best Musical. This is kind of the big one, at least for me.
Right, yeah.
Just for you.
Beth, you don't think it's going to be SpongeBob?
I don't. I'm sorry to say that earlier. I think it's a wonderful show. I think The Band's Visit will win. It won a bunch of awards last year when it was off-Broadway. And so it hasn't been in this award season as much because it was eligible last year. I mean, I love this show. You guys know that.
Yeah, I think Band's Visit has a slight edge, but it's
It is the prestige favorite of the season, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, we did it.
We made it through.
I hope that your favorites win on Tony night, and be sure to check Broadway.com for all the best Tony coverage.
When we come back, this year's Tony nominees make a prediction of their own.
It's Broadway's most nominated new musical, with 12 Tony nominations, including Best Actor, Best Director, Best Choreography, Best Score, and Best Musical of the Year. SpongeBob SquarePants, the Broadway musical. Get your tickets now.
I'm Lindsay Mendez, and you are watching the Broadway.com show.
Thank you for watching this Tony edition of the Broadway.com show.
We leave you with some of this year's nominees predicting how Tony presenters will mispronounce their names at the ceremony. See if they're right on June 10th.
Best of luck to all this year's hopefuls. See you next week.
Katranka Lunk.
Denise Go.
Maybe they'll say Chera.
Casey Nichula.
And Greg
Cromwell.
They say La Chance. It's La Chance.
Tina Landau.
It's Goff. Rhymes with cough.